So when you first log in, the main module we'll look at here is the reconciliation module. And it will always default you to the current month that we're in when you log in. So if you need to go forward or back, you can do that there. Filter by vendors, status. So maybe we will look at just the ones that are currently in progress. And then if you wish to do a further index down, you can do that from here. So we're going to work through WebRoot now. And this is a good one because it's got lots of items that we need to sort of understand. So total amount is just what we've keyed in before we've imported in the file. The margin is the calculation between costs and the mapped lines that we've already, or that automatically found a home because we've seen this the month prior. Lines is the number of line items that have been imported in, and then unreconciled lines is sort of step one. We want to get that down to 0. That means that there's 5 line items currently that are in from the vendor but don't currently have a home inside of Autotask or a service. Once we get that down to 0, then you can start working through why there are 2 line items that are underbilling and 2 that are overbilling. The calculations here are just simply unit count discrepancy between the vendor and the Autotask service multiplied by the sell price out of Autotask. Okay. And then last but not least, we've got a concept where you can pass on a line for one cycle, one billing run, and it will just come back next month. And it stops the impact on the overs and unders. Or if you've got internal SKUs that you choose not to reconcile ever or legacy data, you can actually make it a little bit more permanently hidden by hiding them. But I'll show you where we can find them in a sec. The status, you can just move it. There's no workflow off of this. It's really just for your own internal steps that you want to follow. Most we find end up having reconciled as the final one, and then but you can really use that however you wish. This is the file that we've imported in. You can click on this and it will download. And then last but not least, you can either click on WebRoot now or this reconcile button, and it will take you through to the data itself. Okay. So what we said initially was that there's 5 line items that are unreconciled. The easiest way to find where those 5 are is twofold. We're trying to find where CRM service has no data. Okay, so we built a toggle here that will just, if you turn that on, we'll leave you with what steps to go. Or like my preference is to actually click on CRM servers once on the blue banner here, and it will sort by no data to data. Okay. And the reason why I quite like that is you can then see all the other line items still, but it's really just a personal preference. So the steps we want to go through, you may go, okay, we know that this customer is actually offboarding. We know that there's 2. This could be an example and reason why we've got an inactive contract here. You may choose to actually go, we're not even going to map this one, client off boarding. We're going to leave a note here for ourselves. And we need to make sure that we do actually action that. So I'm going to pin that. And then sort of optional, you can pass it from this view or even hide it. Wouldn't really recommend hiding something that you're still getting charged for, but I'll just leave that and I'll show you what a note looks like here, client offboarding. The cool thing about that is you can actually search for any word of that and it will then show as well. We'll then filter. And then from here, we can pass it if we choose to, or same toggles, same action, pass or hide. I'm just going to pass that now. It's now in behind here. Okay. So on the next browser refresh, that will drop off. On the others, though, we may wish to map them. Okay, so we're going to come in here along the edit line within the action column. The middle line item here is a direct import from the vendor. Service name, unit count, unit cost, and actual cost. We don't really need to ever edit any of those, whereas now we're going to fetch from Autotask the company name, Dynamo Corp, the contract, hosted SaaS, and then our antivirus line item. Okay, so immediately what we're learning here is we're buying this, we're selling that. There's a discrepancy. We'll fix that in a sec. The unit costs do match up perfectly. You are able to see from this view the buy price and the sell price from the service in Autotask, as well as the unit count. If you do have internal invoice descriptions, it will also show on the right-hand side. We do sort these from big to small, as you can see here. So I'm going to pick my antivirus and I'm going to submit. Now, normally you would work through all the others, and at that point in time, so I'll just fast track this. So we get this down to 0. I'm just passing on these now, so you can see that go to 0. And now what I'd recommend doing is to find the ones you're underbilling or overbilling. The easiest way to do that is just simply click on CRM units off once to see the 3 line items that are impacting underbilling. So we're buying 210, we're selling 110. Cloudolly's recommendation would be that you would increase that by 100. And that's why you see that in amber and that as a plus sign. If I click it the other way, you get the opposite of that. So we're buying less than we're selling, which is why we have a negative number there. So it's our recommendation of units to either add in or take away from Autotask. So another step that we have over here is just, are there, these are the 4 areas on top of the unreconciled lines that really MSPs miss bill by. So as we work through these, the remaining steps will actually disappear altogether. So we factor in expired contracts. If you've mapped something to a unit count of 0, if you've mapped multiple line items from the vendor to one service and it's creating an error, and then finally, which is what we got here, the 5 lines with discrepancies. The way we then fix this is, if we're choosing to then update this here, we can just simply click on the plus button and it will take you directly into Autotask, into the section where we make that adjustment, okay? So this is where we're just going to add it as 100 here. We automatically default it to the beginning of the billing cycle of your contract for the month that we're looking at. Okay, so our contract in this for this client does start on the 1st of the month, which is why it's defaulted to the 1st of May. If it started on the 15th of February, whatever that was, and every month after that, we will default it to the 15th of that month for the billing cycle. You're more than welcome then to adjust the effective date. You are inside of Autotask at this stage. So I'll save and close there. And then we recommend at that point, just setting this as done, just as a visual reference and cue to let you know that you've already worked on that. You don't need to keep going back to it. Okay. And as another example, you might say to this line item here, we're not going to fix this. Maybe there is always a discrepancy of 1 and you're okay with that. It could be that in this case, you just go, we're done with that. We're not going to work on that. Again, it's literally a visual cue, just so you don't keep looking back and wondering if we've worked on it. Some other items that we've got here, 5 weeks out from a contract actually expiring, we'll begin to flag that for you. You're welcome to click on this and it'll actually take you directly into the contract itself. You can extend it, you can review it, you can do whatever you need to. Again, you're just inside of Autotask at this stage. Okay, so that's the end date that we're referencing. When it expires, so on the 22nd of June, when you're looking at this, it's then going to go to red and just let you know that expired. It's also going to flag itself up here. So let's say that we've worked through the remaining steps here and we're happy with what where we've got to. Cloudolly doesn't automatically know that we've made that adjustment. Okay, the way to do this is to do a sync with CRM, and this is going to pull back the information that we have inside of Autotask that's now newer and update this UI, and all of this will go down to green and then be perfect. So I'll let you know how long it will roughly take. That's just calculating off of what the last sync was, and it'll just let you know, hey, it's been successfully completed. So on any form of movement or browser refresh now, if we're looking for this legal help one, so its current discrepancy is 100. When we now do a refresh of this, looking at legal help here, so we're buying 210, we're selling 210, and that's why it's now perfect and letting you know that discrepancy has now disappeared. Whereas this toggle for set and done, it does retain itself, it does remain as is. So normally you'd work through this vendor and maybe other vendors in one go. It's really up to yourself. And then when you're ready, do the sync with CRM. Normally move this to reconcile. We do have clients who certainly do it as approved. It's up to yourself. And then when we come back out to the main view, this is now dropped off because we were looking at We're looking at just in progress. And now you can see that these are reconciled, and that's perfect. So in an ideal world, there's a lot of peace of mind that comes with all of these just moving to a reconciled phase. Even if there is still overs and unders, the team has been able to centrally view all of them, and then you can make a call on whether or not they should be perfect or not, or you've got tasks that need to be decommissioned, line items in a vendor or two. But this is just going to centralize it all. And next month when we come in, it will all begin as not started, as a status, no file, and then you can just work through them again one by one.